Hey guys, um, here doing a live video, using, using YouTube's live feature and trying to do like a deck review of a Magic the Gathering deck that I had made. Um, and basically what it is it's based around, uh, Flayer of the Hatebound, which, if you play Magic, it's this guy. Um, I noticed it's gonna be in reverse because of the whole. It's like showing it to a mirror, basically. But he's red. He comes in for 6 mana, or cast for 6 mana. He's from Dark Ascension. The Devil has Undying. And Undying is if a creature died this turn, return it to the battlefield unless it had a 1/1 counter on it. So if it doesn't have a 1/1 counter on it, it'll come back because of Undying. And then Flare the Hatebound, second ability is if it or another creature you control enters the battlefield from the graveyard, uh, that creature deals damage equal to his power to a creature or player. And what's cool is that if you have multiple Flayers out, they'll see each other, so they'll play off of each other coming from the graveyard to the battlefield. So I have a playset of those in here. Um, for major damage. And then what I'm trying to do is use cards like Ashnod's Altar, which is a 3-drop artifact. You sack a creature, you get 2 colorless mana. Which, by the way, this deck is not modern. I think if anything, it's legacy. Because excuse me, I posted it on tappedout.com or net. Um, and I tried doing it under modern, but it said it's not modern legal because of Ashnod's Altar, and then some of the other cards I'll be uh, pulling up here in a second. So it's casual, um, mostly casual because on Thursday nights and then just with friends, I play with casual decks. We all play with decks that they're not modern legal necessarily. They're just casual, friendly, I guess. Whatever. Um, so yeah, sack outlets like Ashnod's Altar. Um, Cards like Rescue from the Underworld. Pretty really cool instant from the Theros block. It's a 5-drop instant, which is kind of a lot, I guess. But with the mana ramp, there's a decent amount of mana ramp, I think, in this deck. So the 5-drop is not terrible. But you sack a creature, and then you choose a creature in your graveyard, and then the creature you sacrificed and the chosen creature in the graveyard come back in your next upkeep. So if Flayer had already if Flayer like were to die, or one of the Flayers were to die again with the 1/1 counter on it, you could bring it back with that card, Rescue from the Underworld, and sack something else, and then those things would come back, and then Flayer would deal damage. So I have a playset of those, and if you don't know what a playset is, it's for one card. And then another sorcery from the Commander 2016 set, Grave of Field. It's a 6-drop sorcery. It basic land cycles for 2, or yeah. You can return a creature from a graveyard to the battlefield against haste. No. Now I have to check something. Oh, okay. I just realized I may have screwed up the other night playing with Grave of Field, because Flayer says from your graveyard, and I remember casting Grave Appeal and taking my friend's creature from his graveyard and then maybe dealing damage to him. So I didn't catch that, neither did he, but I need to make sure I catch that next time. I have a playset of this card, Vampire Hexmage. It's a 2-drop black vampire. Has first strike, and it's a 2/1. You sack the Hexmage, and you get rid of a counters from a permanent you control. So it's really good for taking the counters off of something that has Undying. If it were to come back with the 1/1 counter on it, you could get rid of you could sack the Hexmage and get rid of the counters. What else? And then some other sack outlets here are Heartpiercer Manticore. Again, if you played Magic, this is just a fling on a body, but it has Embalm from the Amonkhet. It's from Amonkhet, so if you're not familiar with Embalm, it's mana cost that you end up exiling the creature from your graveyard, and then a copy of the creature comes to the battlefield, and it has that you create a token of it that comes to the battlefield. So then it flings again. But I don't really use it for the embalm because I have a way to get it back without needing to embalm it. But I will show you that card in a second. Another sack outlet I have a playset of is Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. She's a 4-drop flying haste. She says you sack a creature, she gets indestructible, and if the creature you sacked were a human, she gets a 1 counter. But she's basically just good because she's a free sack outlet. So, no need. There's no humans in this. I don't think, yeah, there's no humans in this deck, so it doesn't really matter. And plus, if I were to make it modern, I'd have the aristocrats out. I'd have the aristocrats in, and I would take Ashhound's Altar out because that's not modern legal. And then one of the creatures that just go really silly with this deck is this Scuttling Doom Engine. It's a 6-drop artifact for 6/6. Creatures with power 2 or less can block it, and when it dies, it deals 6 damage to someone. So it's really silly when you give it Undying and you sack it. Excuse me. You sacrifice Scuttling Doom Engine, it'll die, you deal 6 damage to someone, and then it'll come back because of Undying, and then it'll deal 7 damage to someone because of Flayer, or you fling it with the Heart-Piercing Manticore, and it'll deal 6 damage to someone, and then 6 damage to someone again because of its ability. So, very silly card to add to this deck, and I thought it was amazing. Amazing addition. So then some of the cards I have singles of, they go really well in this deck. So we have Mikaeus the Unhallowed from Dark Ascension. Sorry, I was hearing. I guess it's raining outside and it's hitting my AC unit. But Mikaeus the Unhallowed, it has Intimidate. It gives you non-human creatures Undying, and +1/+1. And if a human were to attack you while Mikaeus is out or deal damage to you, that means that human is destroyed. So he'll give my Scuttling Doom Engines and my Hex Mages and the Falcon Wrath Aristocrats all Undying. Because they're not humans. And then we have, I recently picked up Shieldred, the Whispering one. She's from New Phyrexia. She's a 7-drop Swamp Walk. She's a 6/6 And she's one of the like silly cards that really give this deck a push that it needed. So, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then at each opponent's upkeep, they have to sack a creature. I don't really care about the second ability too much. That's just like, you know, it's extra for me. I wanted her because I returned a creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield, which is uh, really silly and awesome. I was playtesting earlier, and I was seeing that if I have Ashnod's Altar out while she's out, I can and like Heartpiercer, Manticore, Scuttling Doom Engine, I could uh so I was sack the Scuttling Doom Engine. If the Scuttling Doom Engine and Heartpiercer are in my graveyard, I could bring the Scuttling Doom Engine back first, and the next turn bring the Heartpiercer back, and then fling the Scuttling Doom Engine, and then next turn bring the Heartpiercer back. Or no, bring the Scuttling Doom Engine back, sack the Heartpiercer to Ashnod's Altar for whatever reason, because Ashnod's Altar gives you mana for it, and the next turn bring the Heartpiercer back, and then fling. It's just like a lot of damage being dealt without needing Flayer. But if Flayer was out, then um, it's just a really silly deck to play around with at that point. And then a one card everyone probably knows from standard right now is Blocking Ballista. Um, so it comes in with X1 counters. X being its mana cost is XX. So for every 2 mana you put into it, it gets a 1 counter. So if you cast it for 2, it'll come in with 1. And then, so the thing with Mikaeus is it'll give the Ballista of Undying, but then it'll have a base power of 1. So even if you remove the 1 counter, it'll still be alive because it'll be a 2/2, and then you move the counter via its ability. Or just Hex Mage in general. So it'll still be a 1/1. But you can remove the 1/1 counter, then sack it, and then it will come back. And then there was a loop that a kind of a loop that I had with Corrodes the Guild, Corrodes the Gorgon that I had that I took out of here because I decided to do Mardu, which is black, red, white. And then so with this card, if I were to like sideboard her in, I could do green, splashing green just for her, because all you gotta do, pay 2 mana, remove a 1/1 counter from something or from a creature, and then give a creature -1/-1 until end of turn, which kind of gets around Walking Ballista or Machaeus's +1/+1. So she's a definite like sideboard for this deck. If I were to make one, I'm not very good with sideboards. Because I'm like I build a deck and then sideboards are like really distracting for me. I don't know why that is. So I don't play a lot of constructed Magic. I tried doing standard, and it's just like too many people use the same decks, and you go in there with your own brew, and everyone's so over competitive, and it's just like, I'm good at making decks. I'm just not good at making like standard or modern decks. Maybe I don't know. Haven't put the money into it really. I put money into cards that I want in decks that I want to build, but I don't. Not enough money to make competitive decks. Um, this deck actually ended up being like over $100 according to Tapped Out, like with it being connected to the the TCG website that everyone uses to check their card prices. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize I invested that much into this deck. So I've been working on this deck for quite a while, and ever since I got into Magic, which was around Eldritch Moon, um, kind of when Eldritch Moon was being released, I one of the like bulk rares that I got was Flayer the Hatebound, and that card always appealed to me. I just had never like, figured out how to use it until recently, and now I'm like, oh, it's like my favorite card right now. But back to the deck review here. One of the other single creatures I put into it was Karma Guide. I've been kind of like tossing, ta, tussling with this card. I don't even know what word I'm trying to say. Trying just to figure out if I really want it or not. But I figured why not? So it's a 5-drop angel flying pro black. It has echo for 5, so if you don't pay the 5 mana at your upkeep, you sack it. So with Machaeus though, it has Undying. So even if you don't pay the mana cost, it'll come back on that initial turn, but then you'll still have to pay the echo or sack it again on your next turn, which is why I'll probably just end up putting what is it, Corrodes the Gorgon back in here, just because she removes one counters from your creatures. So that'll definitely get rid of and get around that, so I never have to pay the echo cost. It'll just come back. And then when it enters the battlefield, you return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So This is a card that's not modern legal, so if I wanted to make it modern, I'd have to take that out. And then some mana ramp here. We have 3 dark rituals that are definitely banned in modern. If I wanted to make it modern legal, and I'd take them out. But since it's casual, nobody I've played with cares. Though everyone gets like out of their mind insane if you use more than one soul ring. And this casual deck format is 60. I had to recount it, but I guess there's 62 when I inserted it into tapped out. So I wasn't even aware. God, this video is long. And then another return card that'll return stuff is Marshall's Anthem, which is a 4-drop enchantment. Has multi-kicker of 1 white. So if you pay 1 in white X times, you get that many target creatures from your graveyard back to the battlefield. And then your creatures you control get +1/+1. So even if you don't kick it, it's so overall it's a 4-drop that it anthems. But at least kick it once, I guess, for its value. It's kind of a late game thing. One of the late game cards I have in here. And kind of another thing I can get around the Undying is Cauldron of Souls. So you tap it, it's an artifact that taps, and you choose any number of creatures you control, give them persist. And that's really cool that creatures can have both persist and undying. So when the creature enters, it'll cancel persist and undying out. The counters will cancel each other out. And like if you do it to Flayer, you'll give Flayer persist, and then it'll either die or you'll sack it, and then before it dies or before you sack it, you just tap Cauldron of Souls and give it persist, so then it'll come back. And then this artifact, Panamonican, really gross with this deck. It's a 4-drop. Creatures and artifacts that enter the battlefield that have enter the battlefield effects basically trigger twice. They trigger if a creature that's on the battlefield has an enter the battlefield effect or is affected by a creature entering the battlefield that triggers, they trigger that creature or artifact twice. So it's like so basically when creatures enter the battlefield from the graveyard while Flayer's out, Flayer will deal double the damage instead of just doing it one time. So when Flayer enters and Panamana comes out, he'll deal 10 damage instead of 5. And I've been winning quite a few times with this deck. And I don't know why, because every time we do multiplayer, people just leave me be. And it's just, oh, it's like, well, you weren't doing anything to me. And it takes time for this deck to set up, which is its flaw, because there's a lot of high costing cards and I have to set up, which is why the Dark Rituals are in there and the Ashnod's Altar are in there for the mana ramp. So it's a setup deck, kind of a mid-game, in-game, mid-game, in-game deck. It doesn't really go off that fast. I wish it did though, because if it were modern, it would need to go off really fast. I'm sure there are. I don't know what cards would help this deck go off super fast and cut the mana cost down. Not that I could think of at the moment, but it would definitely not work well right now on modern. So this is a late game card that I thought of that was in one of my commander decks. Second Sunrise. This is a card that's not modern legal. This is what gives my deck the eggs theme, kind of from the Return of Ravnica Pro Tour. There was a popular deck that won that Pro Tour that had the eggs theme where you sack a bunch of permanents and then use Second Sunrise, and there was another white card that I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it brings all those cards back to the battlefield that you just sacked, which is what this does. Yeah. So it says each player returns to play, all artifact, creature, enchantment, and land cards are put into his or her graveyard from play this turn. So when I was just play testing with it a little bit, I had a bunch of creatures out and Ashnod's Altar. I was thinking, well, at the end of this person's turn, while Flayer is on the field, as well as all these creatures, I'll just sack them all. Ashnod's Altar. Flayer comes back first because he didn't. Well, when I was playtesting, I just assumed I wouldn't need to sack him yet because there was no need to. So I was waiting for Second Sunrise. And then, so sack them all. I have the 2 white and the 1 colorless available to cast Second Sunrise, and then I cast it, and all those creatures come back. And then Flayer sees all those creatures enter. And then with Panamonicon also being on the field, it was like 90 something damage I could deal to someone. Or I don't think it would be 96 damage to someone if we're playing multiplayer. Because every time a creature would enter the battlefield, it would be a separate trigger. So I have to choose someone. I couldn't just like 96 damage. I have to a creature per target, basically, enter. So that is that deck. The mana base is pretty simple. We have some basic land fetches like Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, uh, sack outlets like Westvale Abbeys, and a high market. The high market is not modern legal. Uh, the high market, you just tap that creature, gain a life. In the Westvale Abbey, you can tap 5, sack 5 creatures. It transforms into Arm and Hail, which is a giant demon with haste. And then some non-basic lands. Nothing too crazy. Just like Smoldering Marsh, Dragon Skull Summits, um, 2 Nomad Outposts, and a Concealed Courtyard. They tap for black, red, Mardu colors, basically. And then some swamps and mountains and plains. So the mana base is not expensive. Um, I don't need an expensive mana base at all. So, but that is that deck. Um, I wasn't really expecting anyone to join this live stream because I was just recording. I was just going to use this to record that. And hopefully, if you do watch this recording and you do like the deck, again, it's just a casual deck, play for fun sort of thing. If you do like it, let me know what you think about it. And if you do have any modern recommendations or maybe ways to make it go faster, because it is somewhat of a slow deck, a lot of building up. It is multiplayer friendly, so it's not one-on-one heavy at all. Like I get crushed one-on-one with this deck. Let me know what cards to maybe look for. Let me know what you think about the Gorgon. See if you think that's some good synergy or not. I really like the deck. I think it does well. I haven't really lost with it against my friends, and they know what to expect, but they just never seem to be able to do anything about it. So I think that's pretty cool because sometimes they make better decks than me. It's frustrating. All right, well, thanks for watching and have a good evening.